Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti, and if you don't know, I'm the face, the voice, and the hands behind all the content here under Infiniti Crafting Co. and behind the website InfinityCraftingCompany.com. Today I'm here with Channel Chat 147, aka the last episode of 2023, and today I want to just reflect on everything that I have made this past year. You know, when I sit back and I work on videos and things, it gets really easy to get into the weeds of things and feel like I've been particularly unproductive. However, it's times like these where I get to come into the chaos that is my studio at the end of the year and actually take account of everything that I have made or, you know, set up or whatever. And so this is either the second or third time I'm doing this as a video thing here on the channel, but nonetheless I wanted to take you on that journey with me, so I cannot wait to share absolutely everything, because this is just a small amount of this stuff that I did this year, and I will talk about each piece, each pattern more in depth here in a moment. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of this vlog. Alright, first and foremost, I want to thank each and every last one of you for being a member of my community here. This year has been some of the biggest as far as growth is concerned. This channel has grown about 5,600 new people since January, and I always say that it's shocking how many people are willing to come and subscribe and watch my videos, whether it's these that are more talking points or just coming to learn the fiber arts from me. I love it so much. Part of why I got into creating content for YouTube, and so I want to thank you all for just making it possible for me to be here in general. I was looking at my 2023 recap about a week ago, and you all have been on it. So you all have shared my videos almost 3,000 times this year, and that means a whole heck of a lot to me too. And it's like, I look at these numbers because it helps me to assess how helpful or how good of a job I'm doing here on YouTube, and just to see that reaffirmed at the end of the year is worthwhile to me. So again, I want to say thank you for supporting Infiniti Crafting Co., for supporting me in general, to the extents that you guys do. Alright, so all that in mind, right, this has been a busy year. I know not everybody keeps up with everything that goes on here at the channel, but I've been rolling out thing after thing after thing, it seems like, and I kind of wanted to try to do this in chronological order, but to be honest, I don't really quite remember how things went down in chronological order. So I'm going to start with what I remember first. So the year started off with me finishing some behind the scenes projects. This sweater is one of them. This is a sweater that I designed at the end of 2022 for New Year's, but I didn't quite finish it on time. And so by the time I finished it, I didn't feel like there was a point in showing it off for real. So I'm really now just trying this on, and the fit is just so perfect. So typically it is because I've been designing for so long, but, you know, not to gloat. I was very excited about this whole thing in general, and so the written pattern is written, but I just haven't formatted it and put it out there yet, so who knows. I want to say maybe sometime in 2024, but who knows, because at the top of this year I started off with a list of things that I wanted to get accomplished, and along the way I've accomplished a lot of things, made a lot of things, and I've also done some like spur of the moment things that I feel actually in the long run have been pretty good. So I'm gonna share those with you, but again, I just want to say I am very blessed to be able to serve my community as a whole, and that my community is so large. You know, there's so many of you following me around here on the internet, between this YouTube channel, the Rumble channel, Facebook, and Instagram. Even though that's my smaller community, you guys are still there and supportive and liking the content and things like that. So again, thanking you for the engagement. I am nothing if not grateful for all of it. So at the head of the year, I set out to most definitely release my Centro sock patterns, which I have. and I set out to publish my Fresh Peaks sweater. So the Fresh Peaks sweater, I started production on it physically in 2022. The first inkling of an idea for it came to me in 2021. So that's the first thing that I actually started recording the tutorials on this year. So that's why I'm going to talk about it first. And there's actually kind of two versions of it. The first version, the real difference between the two, first of all, is just the collar. But the first version just had a simple ribbed collar that I enjoyed because it was open and allowed me to breathe, because I run very warm all the time. So, you know, I didn't want to feel like I was closed in or anything. And then, you know, it's very rare that I get to wear my hand knits or my crochet pieces, because I am an artist and I do painting and I do ceramics. So two very messy mediums, and they don't mix well with hand knit or just knitted fabrics, crochet fabrics, whatever. So I don't wear them very often, but when I do, I like to be able to be comfortable in them and style them in a certain way. I'm very kind of bougie in that sense, but yeah. So I guess I'll grab it. This one I can kind of show you because it's not on the mannequin. The one that's on the mannequin obviously is still just there. I haven't peeled it off there after I finished it. It was basically the end of the year anyway, so I was just like, you know what, this is the last garment of the year. I'm not going to try to speed run a garment for December. So, there it lives. I have the physical version of that listed on my website because, I don't need two of these, to be honest. One is enough, and this one's my favorite because of the bold green. And it's kind of funny because green was not my original favorite color, but it started growing on me about 7-8 years ago, and now I'm just here. So this sweater was special because I modified a crochet stitch to knit this up. And once I did my test swatch, which was kind of ugly, but I did my test swatch and it worked out fine in a regular 4-weight yarn, and I was like, you know what, it would be perfect for this chunky yarn. And Wool and the Gang at the time had a really good sale, so I got the yarn basically to make both of these. I wasn't sure how much yarn I would need for those projects in particular. And somewhere I have the papers. I feel like they're buried on the mannequin. So anyway, I think I used like 8 balls of yarn or something like that for each sweater, and knit up with US 15 needles. I was able to get this sweater vest out. This is called the Fresh Peaks sweater vest, and I released the pattern for that to my club members under Hey Craftedpreneur back in November. I think it was the end of November. So yeah, this one was really great. I meant to do the sample video for my members. Oh my gosh, I'm just now realizing that. I meant to do the sample video for them with the regular weight yarn, but I didn't get around to that this year, so maybe I'll sneak that in there earlier on in 2024. Because this is my downtime for the channel. I don't put out tutorials at all on the public channel, and so usually this is my planning period, but most of my planning is done, so I kind of know what's supposed to go up at the beginning of 2024, as I said several times on this channel. I might end up dropping off after May, not really sure yet, but we'll see, and I'll talk more about it at the end of this video. But this is one of those things that was just very fulfilling to do. I don't think it was my favorite project of the year, but it was definitely a close second. And part of the excitement of the Fresh Peaks sweater was not only just being able to modify the crochet stitch into a knitting stitch, but it was the styling of it. I got to pair it with this nice white blouse, and now that I wear glasses most of the time, it just really tied together as this very academia themed look, and I really enjoyed it. So that's a thing. I think that I anticipated releasing the PDF pattern for the Fresh Peaks sweater vest in January, so I'll be looking into my notes and things like that so I can get that out there. It makes sense to put it out in January because it's cold. But anyway, on to the next project. I think plan-wise, my next project was the Centro knitting machine socks. Now, I've done a tutorial on it, in the past. And at the time it was great, and apparently a lot of people thought it was great at the time, but I always seek to make things better. So I played around with the knitted heel because people had been kind of hounding me since September of 22. Like, can you hand knit a heel in there? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you could. I've just never bothered with it, and I hadn't. Partially because I just didn't want to fool around with the knitting needles and trying to incorporate a heel into something I knit on the machine. But I went in and I realized that it wasn't as difficult as I was making it out to be in my head, and so I ended up making several pairs of socks. I think I have like 6 pairs of socks that I've made, which might not be impressive, but considering that you can make them relatively quick, I think that I have plenty of them. So this is a pair. This was actually supposed to be the pair I did the tutorial on, and I've actually worn these a couple times and they wash fine. Obviously they're still wearable. I just have big feet. But anyway, that's beside the point. I goofed up on the footage and I had to scrap the whole project after hours and hours of recording, and it was unsalvageable. I didn't have enough yarn to make it look seamless, so I scrapped it, and I ended up using a different yarn entirely for that first project. So I was able to show off how to do the heels. Plus on these, I didn't want to do this particular heel because I experimented with a similar method to the first crochet method that I used for the original video, and I didn't like how small and stubby the heel was. It still fits fabulously, but I wanted a little something more classic looking, and so I ended up with something more so like this. Now this is a knee sock. It goes all the way over the knee, almost touches the thigh, and this was kind of figured out. Actually, I'd figured this out in about October of last year. And I was like, okay, this is cool. This is not the original pair. The original pair is brown and gold because I wanted to test it out on a different yarn instead of using all my sock yarn to make something experimental. But I was able to piece together those knee socks, and I just didn't know how I wanted to release that, because when I do things for the Central Knitting Machine, I typically have written notes about the process and things like that I find to be helpful. So anyway, those were kind of the prime real estate for my members club when I started it up in July. So these are exclusive to the club, so if you're a member, you can make them to your heart's content. $6 a month, so it helps support the channel, but you get to make these cool socks. But anyway, that's beside the point. I was talking about the crochet heel before I went on the tangent about the socks. So this one's actually crochet, and I know it probably doesn't look like it, and I wonder if I can get closer for you. This is actually crocheted. So I found a new method. It's kind of similar to how I did the tutorial for the knitted sock, but obviously it's different because it's crochet. And so I hope that focused right. Anyway, I was very proud of this, and this one I did actually last. So this was the last this was the last thing I think I actually recorded for that. I think I recorded the sock, this thing first. Yeah, something like that. I don't know, it's all a blur now because I did so much in such a short span of time. Basically I was in a free-for-all after July, and you know, never looked back, but very happy work to do. So yeah, these socks are wonderful. I've been making them for at least the last 3 years, and these that I have done now are the most comfortable snug fitting things that I have made, and not like an uncomfortable snug, but just they fit my foot like a glove, and I can really appreciate that. So as the cold months keep rolling in, I will be able to wear my socks more and more. The brown knee socks I actually wore to school because it hit like 28 degrees back in November, and we were like, finally, and I'm like, I can finally wear my hot stuff. So I wore them and actually got complimented on them. So that was a high point as well. I think that, as you all may well know, when you make things and you wear them, you're specifically doing that to get compliments on them. But without saying it out loud, it's a little subtle thing. But if people know you knit or crochet and they're like, "Oh my gosh, did you make that?" You can just do a little hair flip and be like, "Yeah, totally." So that was my deal. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed the color scheme on this one. Anyway, so yeah, those tutorials are also available to members. I think most of my making this year was centered around things that I could put out for the members club. And the first half of the year, I hadn't planned on even launching that this year, to be honest. The first part of the year, I was trying to plan on how I wanted to, I don't know, implement my pottery into Infiniti Craft & Co. and how I wanted to move some of my crocheted items, because I still have a lot of stuff that I've crocheted up for my inventory that I wanted to get rid of, and I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do that. And then in March, when I was up late one Saturday night, and I was so stressed out because I'm like, okay, this platform's not working for me, this isn't working, and it was like midnight, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, and I closed my Etsy shop. And I ended up scrambling, kind of putting it out there like, hey, you can't find my stuff on Etsy anymore. I was just tired at that point, and it wasn't working for me anymore, and especially around everything that I've been trying to do, like get my teeth fixed, and mostly get my teeth fixed, but also just continue to put resources into Infiniti Craft & Co. and pay for software and things like that to keep putting out the content y'all like. And Etsy was just not part of that plan anymore. And the moment I decided to close that shop, a whole weight was lifted off of me, and I won't rehash it too much here in this video. I believe it was channel chat 110 that I detailed that, so that means I've done quite a few channel chats this year. My gosh. Anyway, so yeah, I ended up closing that, and then over my hiatus, I was like, okay, well, something has to take its place, but I want something where I can control it better and I can offer more value for what people are paying for. And so I ended up looking into the membership things under my website platform, and I was able to build that out beautifully, and so far it's working out great, and I've been able to implement and add so much to it, and I feel like there's an opportunity there to continue to add to it in the future. But that aside, these socks are fabulous, and now that I've shown them off properly, I can put them in my stash to wear them. So I'm happy about making this video today. And I mean, obviously this one's more of an anklet. Now, I wonder, what did I do? Yeah, I think I crocheted the cuff on this one. I did. So it curls over a little bit, but I don't mind that because it was an ankle sock anyway. So if it's just curled over at the top right there, I think that actually looks okay. But anyway, looking forward to wearing them nonetheless. So I'm going to put them back on the shelf for now. And naturally I have more sock yarn, so I'm sure I'll be making more pairs as 2024 progresses. Probably make them as gifts, because what better way to use a gift or a skill than to make things for other people. So, yeah. Alright, so I'm going to put those down here. It's the other pair. What else have I made? Nearly solid shawls. So a lot of, I think I've said it already, but a lot of my making really oriented around updating patterns this year. So I went all the way back to the beginning with the nearly solid shawl, which is a very basic double crochet triangle shawl with eyelet going down the center, and it was one of the first patterns I ever put out there back in probably early 2018. Because I feel like I went back recently and I saw one pattern and I was shocked to find that I actually written it in 2017, and I don't know if it's that one or if it's another one, but either way, that was one of my very first patterns, so I was able to go back, update that with a lot of pictures. I added in a video tutorial for it, and for those of you who don't know or haven't been around that long, last year in 2022, I was like, okay, I need to start putting videos in my patterns. I felt like it would help the making process, and sometimes, you know, not just me, but other people as well, when you design things and you put a pattern out there, some things are easier to explain in the video, in the showing process, than it is in the writing process. And I feel like having both of those side by side helps substantially. So if there's ever anything that you want to make of mine, you can rest at ease because there's a video tutorial embedded in the blog posts if you are a craftpreneur. But if you are just purchasing my PDFs one off, then there's always a link in there for video tutorials for that particular pattern. And that's been a very important and special project for me over the last year or so, and it's going out well. It's slowed down my pattern releasing, because for a while there I was just putting stuff out there because I wanted people to, well, one, make my stuff, but also like I wanted to kind of get it to where people would recognize my name on patterns. And that was cool and all, but now I'm just at a point where, okay, I have a bunch of great ideas, but I feel like I'd be doing them a better service by adding in videos with the written directions as well. So anyway, that's been a big project for me over the last, like I said, year, and it's been going successfully. And that was one of the first ones I put out for Hey Craftpreneur, and I'm pointing over there because they're over there on top of the mannequin. But I also started making one the other day. I think it was the last, or no, channel chat before last, I mentioned that I was just making a lot of easy little projects that were portable and I could kind of be into rhythmically. I don't want to lose my stitch. So I started making another nearly solid shawl in this color, and I put this out. I put out the smaller, earlier on in the project I had a whip picture and I put it out, and I had people DMing me about it, and I'm like, it's not out. But the pattern is, that's always my thing. That's why I put the patterns out, so people can make them themselves. Because I don't really make stuff per se like to order anymore. I used to kind of do that stuff, but I got out of it for various reasons. But yeah, this one will go into my shop. I don't plan on keeping it. I just hadn't gotten around to making it, and I'm kind of a person, like, when I get into making a certain project, I'll make a bunch of them and then I'll stop for a while and I'll move on to something else. So I'm very concentrated in that way. But yeah, so just been kind of fighting with my yarn lately with this particular one, but I really, really, really like this color. Obviously, it stuck out to me in the store, and I bought it, and now it's here. I'm finally using it probably 8 months later or something like that. So anyway, I have that. Let me see. I also went into a period of making my water bottle holders. So, and I made several of them. Oh my gosh. And right in the middle of making several of them, I jumped in on Politically Incorrect Knitters Shark Week challenge, and I did a special one for that. And so I did beat the shark. I definitely beat the shark with this one, but this is Jaws themed, and I got my tag on it. I kind of ran out of tags, so whenever I decide to get these again, then I'll start probably making these again. These are great in the spring and summer. And I always end up making myself one on the side, but I have several of these around. Not all of them are in this basket, but I also have this purple ones, and this purple one kind of came from, wait, I don't think it's this purple one. I think it was another one with the purple on it, because I made a couple of these. Now mine I still have. I retired it for now, but I did a poll and I asked people which one they liked better, and by far this one was the more popular one. The other one I did, it was green at the top and the purple and then the mint or whatever, so it was kind of reversed of this one. So that one, this one is still up too. And then I did this really springy one. It was like May, but I loved this, and I don't think I made myself one, to be honest. I didn't. But that's usually because I don't use light colors, because the pottery studio is dusty. When you're in communal spaces, stuff is sometimes dirty. So, I don't want to mess up my pieces necessarily. There's a lot of overlap with like art and these crafts with me. So anyway, I usually stick to dark colors that you can easily hide dust and things like that. But yeah, I have like 6 of those made up. I also made a red and black one that I stuck somewhere, and I couldn't tell you for the life of me where it is, but I liked that one. I actually made one for like a 32-ounce bottle, and I made one for a 64-ounce bottle. And in the patterns, I put out the measurements for these different sizes. The pattern itself caters up to 3 sizes, so I think there's like 21, 32, and then 64. Yeah, so they all have their corresponding measurements at the bottom of it. You just have to read which one and follow the base math for it. But anyway, so there were those, and then that's kind of last. What else did I make? Like I said, there's so much stuff, and I have a comprehensive list of things somewhere. Let me see. I went over the socks. I released or re-released the Mountain Forager shrug for my members club, which was a garden shrug that I designed back in 21. I think I released it in 21 as well, so that's cool. The setup was a little different back then too, now that I think about it. But yeah, I did that. I re-released that one. And a lot of this is just kind of combing through, making sure things are still up to par, making sure there's no typos in there and things like that, which that one was good. Usually I'm pretty meticulous about that before I put out patterns anyway, but you know, sometimes we miss things because we're human, and so I like to go back and make sure things are updated properly and things like that. Or if somebody emails me, which nobody ever has, so I guess that's a good thing, then I can go in and kind of fix this thing or that thing. But anyway, so I re-released that, and I really wanted to make another one this year. I absolutely love the stitch that I used for that garden shrug, and I wanted to make one out of this brown fisherman's wool that I've had on my shelf and I want to get rid of. Just didn't get around to it though. I was much busier with other things, so maybe at some other point I'll have time to make a selfish project that I can fully obsess over and crank out and whatnot. Then I also put out the Genesis top, which was this like rainbow like tube top thing that I like. It's based off the book of Genesis. That was out. I remember, I think I was working on that at the beginning of 2022. Yeah, because my studio was it was in disarray to say the least. That year, I think, yeah, the gutters froze over, and so we had water to come down here, and it kind of messed up part of my studio down here, and so I ended up having to switch around where my craft table was and moving a bunch of stuff. It was wild. But 2022, later on in 2022, I was able to get that straightened out and rearranged, and now I'm over here, still down here, but over in a different section, and so it makes everything a lot better. What else? Alright, that's what else. This, I revisited the Hold Me Tight shawl. Now this came out in 2018. Look, I was still into Fall Out Boy, and they came out with a new album, and Hold Me Tight or Don't was a vibe. So this isn't the right one. The new one has big tassels on it. But I did revisit this pattern as a whole, and I re-released it under the members club. I updated the PDF pattern in shop as well, so that was kind of an instantaneous update for that. Added in more pictures, kind of readjusted some of the instruction to make it easier, and then of course a video, because and it haunts me to this day, but I have a Instagram friend that made this because I did a giveaway some years ago for some of my patterns, and she's really excited about making it, and she did eventually make it, but it took her a while, and she was like, I'm sure it's just me, but you know. And I was thinking at that point to add videos into my patterns would be a great idea, but at the time I didn't know how I was going to go about implementing that. But I was able to get that shawl redone and out there for members as well. I think I did it in September, if I'm not mistaken, or I did it in October. I really don't remember. All I know is that I set out a plan at the beginning of each month which designs I'm going to release for my members, and then I go about either updating them or finishing them out and putting them out there. So that was one, and I always kind of enjoy that because of the colors. It's so fun and varied, so your eyes don't get bored. At least that's the case for me. So it was kind of a fun revisit. Then, let me see. What else did I do? Socks. I think it was socks. Oh, okay, yeah, that's when I released the socks with the Afterthought heel. Okay, with the Crochet Afterthought heel. And then I revisited my Ducky Poof pattern. There it is. I re-released this. So, there's a yarn scrap. Anyway, I made this first duck. It's completely white and don't know where he is, but I still have it. And I made it back in 2016, somewhere in there. It's very old, but still looks brand new. And I love that, and I think that was probably the first pattern that I ever like wrote down and kept for myself. So anyway, I put out that pattern some time ago, so at least in 2018 I put it out there in the public, and it was in desperate need of an update, and I updated it because I didn't realize it needed that much of an update. And so here we are. It still works up the same, but there's again lots more pictures, there's video associated with the pattern and things like that. But he's so darling, and people always comment and like I don't know, kind of fan over these. I don't actually sell these in the shop. I like to use safety eyes for mine, and a lot of times people want these for younger kids, and I don't, if I were to make these for younger kids, I would just crochet the eyes, which that option is written into the pattern as well. But again, making stuff en masse can be kind of a pain, to be honest, and those days are quite behind me, I think, at this point. But yeah, I think I also put notes in the pattern on how to make these bigger, because I have definitely done bigger. The first one I ever made, it was for a friend, but I never got to give it to them, and so I still have it. But after that, I started making them every year for my younger brother, and I've gone through different testing phases with this pattern and sizing it up. I never really sized them down, because I think this is a good snuggly size. Now, if you wanted to make it super amigurumi, I'm sure you could go and reverse it to make them smaller, but I think that this is a really comfortable size. Plus, I find comfort in just holding it like this, They're kind of fun to throw, not gonna lie, but I don't throw these. This one I actually made with, I think it was the Joann's Big Twist Heather, because it's so soft, and I just want to rub my face on it every time I touch this, so I just leave this on the shelf. Alright, so yeah, that got put back out there this year, and what's the next one? Then the knee socks, we talked about that. Y'all saw me in the sweater the other day, for the Christmas crochet tutorial, which if you watched that and you're learning to crochet from me, I hope you enjoyed those excerpts from my crochet course. That video goes away on, well, tonight, so hopefully I'll have this video up on the 31st of December, but otherwise that video is now gone. Anyway, it's a very exciting sweater. It's very busy, and I made it because back in, I want to say 2019, I was Fine Arts Club president, and my club volunteered to work the community Christmas event, or holiday event, whatever they called it, and there was an ugly Christmas sweater competition. And I'm going to see if I can find that picture, but I made this sweater in 3 days, and it had jingle bells on it, and it was absolutely obnoxious, and I won the competition. It was so great. But I wanted to make something better, and I think the following year in 2020, yeah, it had to be 2020 because I think I was on here with my clarinet. So in 2020 I made this ugly cape that kind of matches it. It's the same yarn, but it's simpler, of course, and it just kind of comes below the bust, and it has jingle bells and fringe on it. Okay, but then I wanted to make something even better, and I didn't do anything for 21. I think I did a video for 21, but I don't think I made anything for 21, right? So, in 22, last fall, I'm like, you know what would be great? A crochet along. And so I did a 3-part crochet along. I called it a make along, but I put together this sweater design, and I know in my head I wanted to do the houndstooth thing, which I did do, but then a totally different idea popped into my head for the sleeves, and I was able to successfully create the sleeves. And so now we have the monstrosity that is that sweater. But I absolutely love that sweater, so much so that I think not long after that video I went and bought fall colored yarn so that I could make a fall version for it. Granted, maybe fall will get cold enough next year where I could actually wear it out without smothering, but that's a really fun thing, and I put that out for my community. It was already finished. I didn't have to rewrite anything for it, because last year I'd put it together, and I'd put the video segments together, so it's one cohesive tutorial and you don't have to search and find for it. And I put it into the PDF, and I put it on my website, so that's out there for members as well now, and it's also out there in the regular shop, so I didn't have to update that either, which was kind of nice. Any little wins I can take, I take them. So I consider not having to update listings to be an absolute win for me, because I don't like writing descriptions, you know. It's always kind of weird talking about your own work, like, oh, how can I make this sound appealing? It's a weird process for me, and I have a lot of trouble with it. So, you know, if I don't have to do it, I don't. Let me see. What else did I do? We talked about the Fresh Peaks, which, again, I showed you the first version. And if I have a picture of myself in the first version, maybe I can put them up side by side here. If not, then I leaned over for nothing. But we talked about that. And, oh, well, the next thing actually isn't a project at all. But before I talk about that, in the same spirit of making things that I can carry with me, because I'm always in class, and I am so grateful that I am graduating next semester. I don't know what, I am beside myself with joy, okay? Like, I have been in art school for 10 years. Though it wasn't purely art school in the beginning, I was going to be a teacher, an art teacher. It's been a while. I did take like a gap year in between there, but you know, it's time to sit down. And so, anyway, I'm very grateful to have been able to use the work of my hands to use as a second job, especially after I lost my other job in 2020. This has been my thing. If anything, I work a regular job 6 days a week, but then I also work almost every day of the week. So, you know, but I enjoy this. This is what I enjoy. So I'm glad to be here and be able to use all my years of experience to make a pleasant craft experience for everybody here. So, that was a tangent that I went on. In the spirit of portable projects, I revisited a pattern of mine. It's a free pattern here on the channel somewhere. I released it last March in 2022. And it is the Escapist bookmark. And when I first made it, I made it with this 3-weight yarn. Don't fall. I made it with this 3-weight yarn. It's Lime Brand Kobu. And it was fine. It was fine because I used a probably 4mm hook. What's this recommend? Or a 3.5 or 3.75 probably, because I usually go smaller with my hooks because I like a tight stitch for my bookmarks. But anyway, I started crocheting with thread, and I like it because the bookmarks are simple. Right? I'm not into filet crochet or Irish crochet yet. It's not a never, it's just that at this point I'm not interested in super tiny crochet. But these bookmarks with a 1.6 millimeter crochet hook have been something of a joy to create. So much so that I have made 41 bookmarks this year, and all of them have been made since probably July. So that's been a thing for me, and I have so many colors now. And let me move my pottery off of my bookmarks, because, you know, gotta love my organization skills. But anyway, most specifically, I'm excited about these shiny ones. Now, I have fewer of these than I do the other ones because there's less yardage in them, in those cones, than there are in the regular colors, which is understandable as well. So it took more yarn to make these, but I like how they shimmer because I guess in my past life I was a cat. I don't know. But I kind of made these with the holidays in mind and New Year's for the silver ones. So I have these now. I haven't added them to the website. I do have red ones in the thinner thickness now too, because I made one with this crochet thread that I got from Hobby Lobby, and it's a little denser than this, and it's visible. So these bookmarks are on a different listing from these, but yeah, these have more colors associated with them. So I even went with the black yarn, you know, which at the time I thought it was kind of crazy, but I made them in black because it was midterms. You know, October is a dark time for crochet for me. But anyway, I got those colors in. I have this beautiful, I think I call it turquoise on the website. I always have an argument to make with the color name choices that these yarn companies have for colors, and I credit that to years of painting and color matching stuff, and just, you know, it's not a pet peeve, but it is something very persnickety that I that I do. I also have these. Now, this is in wasabi, and I had this crochet thread for a while because I was going to remake one of my summer patterns with the crochet thread, but then I was like, this is a poor choice. So I didn't. And instead, they got turned into bookmarks. Now these are, I think I left these hanging for a while because while they're the same as all the other ones, they seem longer. But I feel like I left them on the display thing too long and they stretched, which isn't a bad thing because you won't lose it in your book. But yeah, the difference isn't bad, it's just different, you know? So yeah. And I discovered that if you want to make these bookmarks at any point, it's the same pattern as the video. I still do 10 cables up the center of it. But you can get about 5 of these plus their tassels out of one cone. So that was cool. And then I realized that 5 was my limit for one color of these. Repetitiveness can be delightful in the fiber arts, but at a certain point, you know, your attention, it dries up. So I have to change it up. And I was very happy to get to these because I think I did this after I did the black one, and it was very vibrant to my eyes at that time, which was aces because black crochet thread was not really a vibe I was going for here in 2023, but nonetheless, here we were. And then, like I said, there are thicker ones. Now these, I could only get 2. Following the same pattern, I could only get 2 per cone. So 9 times out of 10, it was a different weight, and I just didn't notice because it was like a Hobby Lobby label, which I can show that to you in a second because I'm trying to decide when, not if, but when I get back into making small things, because I'll be in class all day, every day, which color do I want to focus on next. And before I get into that, I have these thicker pink ones, and this purple was really, 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 really nice. And I do have the thin crochet thread in purple, so I will be making a purple one, but it's not as rich as this, and I'll show you in a minute. But then there was this other one, right? This other color, I call it Sage. It was supposed to be the same 10 weight as the other ones, but it was thicker, like the ones I got from Hobby Lobby. So I ended up putting this under that listing as well. But yeah, I like the color. And what's fun is, I said I can get 5 plus their tassels out of each cone, but then there's always some left over, and it's coincidentally enough to make just an extra bookmark. So for each of these, I have my very own. Except for these, I went and specifically got cones so I could make my my own silver and my own gold bookmarks for my little book stash that I've been getting through. But I'm trying to decide. Come here. I'm trying to decide what color do I go to next, you know? I do have this brown here on top, and of course it's a Hobby Lobby one. Just got it on clearance. But anyway, I got a brown one so I can have at least one neutral color, you know? But otherwise, I'm trying to figure out if I need to go ahead, hit yellow next, green, and then blue, and then purple, you know? Just kind of get through the rainbow, so to speak. Don't know. Haven't figured it out, but if you have a suggestion, you can leave it for me in the comments. Okay, now that I've talked about my hoard of bookmarks to figure out where I'm going to store them, or where I had them stored in the first place. But anyway, the next thing that I actually made, worked on, put out was my crochet course. And so, again, going back to that Christmas video that I put out, I recently finished flushing out a sort of beginner crochet course right now, but it's living, so I can continually add to it and tweak it and edit it. So as time goes on, there will be more topics added to it, and that was really fun to put together. So basically, for the last few months, I've been sitting back working on this thing, and it brought me a certain amount of joy because it reminded me a lot of working on lesson plans, which was actually one of the things I enjoyed about teacher education, right? I was a volunteer math tutor for adult education for 3 years as well, not previous to it, while I was also in teacher ed for art. So like doing assessment and building, well, not courses, but clearly building courses now, but building up lesson plans and things like that, there's something really fun about that for me. And so to be able to go and put this thing together and be able to specify different criteria for, hey, is this person getting it, are they not, you know? And it's not anything super, I don't want to say that, but it's not anything super intense for the student, so to speak. The quizzes in the course are super, super easy. Like, they're very obvious. And they have a little bit of my humor sprinkled in there, so, like, it's very obvious what the right and wrong answers are for it, but I just put them in there to, for you, basically, to assess your own knowledge about the craft. And I chose crochet, mostly gearing it towards my Facebook group, community page thing, because most of them found me over the summer because of the beginner crochet clips, and they wanted to learn how to crochet from me. I had left-handed people, I had mostly right-handed people, but I had a lot of left-handed people too in my comments like, hey, can I learn? And I'm like, yeah, you can learn. So I thought that would be a really fun thing to put together, and then I get to put in all of my pro tips and things that I've picked up over the years in a one concentrated space. So, you know, that was really, really fulfilling to do as well this year. And when I published it, I could have cried because I'm like, okay, I've always wanted to do something like this. And earlier on, let me see, what was I saying before my camera battery went out? Earlier on, there we go. Earlier on in my crochet teaching journey thing, I wanted to do in-person classes at craft stores. The problem was transportation, right? So I didn't really have a way to get around and do these things. So by the time I finally put it together up here to start doing a YouTube channel, that was like the perfect little middle ground for me to start, you know, perfecting my craft, right? So to be able to finally do something like that, that is more, I don't know, customizable, it's more hands-on, it's more personalized, I think that that's in the long run going to be really worthwhile. And I added it to my members club, so if you're already a member and you don't know how to crochet and you might want to learn how to crochet, you can in fact join that as part of your membership. The thing with Hey Crafterpreneur as a whole is just that I want to add as much value as I can, and I have set prices for it. I don't move them up or down based on what I'm adding to the program, and I feel like in the future, if I can grow to a certain point, then I would just add other tiers if there's something more important to add, you know. But I really wanted to put my know-how and knowledge at people's fingertips in a way, but do it in a way where I can continue it. So Hey Crafterpreneur is $6 a month. If you've never heard of it, you've never seen it, you didn't know I wrote patterns, I suppose this video is hitting two birds with one stone. I've been putting out patterns for about as long as I've been putting out videos, but I've been writing them a little longer, obviously. But Hey Crafterpreneur is my pattern members club, so if you ever see anything of mine that you want to make and I don't specifically have a tutorial out on YouTube for it or Rumble for it, you could join my program. It's $6 a month, and you get access to my entire library. So my knitting, crochet, and central knitting machine patterns are all available there. What else? There's a members forum. There's exclusive discounts for members on certain things. And then, of course, these programs are going to be complimentary to your membership as well. Yeah, I'm excited about growing that and expounding upon that. There's a few things that I want to add in there probably in January or February, but that was my crochet project for December, and I was happy to get it out on time because it was so massive. There's 20, it says 25 topics, but there's really just an introduction, a conclusion, and 23 steps in between. So in all that, right now you get the terminology behind crochet, some of the facts about like the hook things that you might want to know. You get the basic mechanics, of course, obviously, but then at the end, when you finish, you also get a certificate of completion that I designed out, and I signed it, and you can fill it out. It's a PDF. You can fill it out, and you can print it out and put it on your wall if you want to, or you could just show it off, be like, nah, 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 you know. So that's really cool, and I'm hoping in 2024 that, you know, I can get more members, because that's kind of the powerhouse right now, right? Between the merch shop, the pottery that I'm putting out, which I will get to in a moment because I've made a lot of pottery this year. The pottery I put out, and Hey Crafterpreneur, all of the support that I get from those things help keep this channel going, and it helps keep Infiniti Crafting Co. in general in existence. So, you know, again, I am very, 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 very grateful for the people who sign up for that and support me outside of the video content, because the video content gets me so far, but then that extra stuff just helps me to be able to keep the software going, to keep the internet going, to do basic life things. Like I said, I'm trying to save up to get this tooth fixed because I fell on my face outside of a quick trip last year. Not ashamed to admit that part. I was a little klutzy. But anyway, broke this tooth, and I think it was about a couple months ago now, but I put the x-ray picture on the community tab. You can see how broken that tooth is, and so they said they'd be able to fix it, and allegedly, and so it's just a waiting game now. So in the meantime, I'm just trying to save toward that goal of getting it fixed. Hopefully I can go the simpler route and not have to get an implant put in, but who knows, you know. But either way, every dollar helps. So every member sign up is greatly appreciated. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it adds up, and that's what matters basically there. So yeah, I went down that whole rabbit hole, and I feel like there's something else. There's something else. Okay, duh, the sweetheart scarf. So back in July, when I said I have a lot of things up here that I just haven't put out, I meant that. And so I haven't really done a lot of bonus patterns yet, because I've been trying to get so many things out there between this channel and still catering to my members. And so this is kind of a bonus thing because I put both the left and right-handed course out for this crochet thing. So, you know, it's a lot of stuff involved with that. But this knitting pattern, I didn't want to leave my knitters high and dry because I have about, I have about a 60-40 split of knitters versus crocheters in my program, which I find really, really interesting. But this scarf, I designed it back in October and finished it back in October, and I did all the behind the scenesy stuff on it back in October, but I didn't really want to release it too early because, well, it's called the Sweetheart Scarf, and so officially the PDF will be out in I want to say February, but I should probably release it in late January. The thing is, it only took me 3 days to knit, and I don't know if it was because I was zealous about it or if because it was simply a chunky yarn and I could knit and get into the flow of it, but nonetheless, the Sweetheart Scarf. The first version, I might end up switching out the picture for it to this red one. Usually it's kind of weird photographing red stuff for me because my camera's like, ew, red, there's no details there, you know, but it's probably a minor adjustment that I need to make, but let me go grab it. Okay, so the Sweetheart Scarf, right? The first one I did was in this very pretty autumnal thing, but this one is now in this color, right? And it is this wonderful thing that I put together with cascading cables going right up the center. And so if you've been following me for a while, this is not that surprising of a thing, right? I love cables. I don't care if they're crochet. I don't care if they're knit. I love them. So much so that I have, I don't know, about 12 different cable tutorials on my channel, something like that. But anyway, I'd found this cable pattern and it looked horribly complicated, but I know that all cables look intimidating, so I went for it, and I really liked it on the little sample thing I did, so I ripped it all back. It was on a different weight of yarn, and I was like, huh, well, this needs to be bordered by something, and so I found another stitch pattern that I liked, and it's a type of ribbing, and because the yarn is so thick, I only did one repetition of it on either side, but it looks really nice, and I think, again, in the spirit of sample videos, I think I might end up doing a video to show this pattern in a thinner yarn or lighter yarn weight at some point, because I feel like it would still be very elegant and just maybe not as chunky as this one, because not everybody likes chunky scarves. So anyway, just to have that visual out there for y'all. But nonetheless, this scarf is about 60 inches. Because who doesn't love a nice, long, thick scarf? But, I mean, like, it's just beautiful. And this, I tried a different method of blocking this, and I don't quite like it. The first one, you can kind of tell that I was down on the floor with that. I had it pinned to the heavens. And so, I didn't quite do that with this one. It was more like a just lay it flat to dry type thing. I don't think I'll be doing that method anymore, but this one nonetheless has already been done. I might, if I feel the spirit between now and whenever, I might go and reblock this one with the way that I normally block it. But I figured, you know, might as well try new things. But this is out there for members, and it might be out by the end of January now that I'm thinking clearly. But if not, it'll definitely be out in February. I am excited to share this with everybody. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I realize not everybody is a cable fanatic like I am, but there's a very classic look to them that I enjoy, and this is not the most monstrous thing I've done with cables, to be honest. This one, however, this is my Breath of Autumn pocket shawl, and I didn't get to it this year like I intended to. This one involves a few different types of cables and it has pockets, obviously, because it's a pocket shawl. But, you know, again, my mind goes places when it comes to cabling. I got simple cables, I got chain cables, I got I have 12 stitch cables. Like, you know, this one's wild. And last year I kind of wore it, I actually wore it out. I do believe when I wore it out, I had to go to the post office because I was mailing out pottery? Is it pottery? I don't know. I was mailing out some order, and wore it to the post office, and I was complimented, and then I ended up going to the grocery store, and the cashier was like, "Do you sell those?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't." But yeah, this was um, one of my prouder pieces. This one took me a long time. I think I started it at the head of 2021 or very end of 2020, and I worked on it, I put it down, and I worked on it, and I put it down. This thing got put down so many times, I just, you know, I don't know. But eventually I finished it, and it was phenomenal. It's very warm. Naturally, I paired it with a wool coat because, you know, I love the cold, but I also like to be warm while I'm in the cold. So, yeah. Yeah. And I said I was going to come back, and I do actually have the material to... It's not visible in the camera screen. But anyway, I have the material to go back and make another one of these. And given that it's such a long project, this is something that whenever it gets released, it's going to kind of be like the Fresh Peaks sweater in the sense that I'm going to start it early in the year. So by the time autumn rolls around at a later point, I can release it then. Because even though I know what I'm doing now, I still feel like it's going to take a while. Because this one's also 60... It's either 60 or 65 inches. I don't know. There's these basic measurements for certain garments, and I just kind of go along with those for the most part when I make things. And so that's why most of my scarves or wraps are quite long, because, you know, there's that. And then I wear an extra large, so I like to be swaddled in the fabric. So, anywho, this is going back on the thing because I made this in 2022. And I showed it off in 2022, if you don't remember, but who wants to go back a year to find that video, right? Alright, last but not least, I want to get into my pottery adventure for 2023. So, in 2023, I've made quite a few pieces, in my humble opinion. I feel that falls within my production capacity, so to speak. You know, everything that is here that you see on this channel is made by me, with the exception of the merch, though I did design the things on the merch. So anyway, everything you see here I do by hand. So given the time constraints and things that I have in my life or whatever, I feel like I produced a lot. And so this previous semester I had to kind of step back off of myself because I was feeling, I don't know, irritated. Like I didn't really make as much that as I thought that I could, but I did in turn learn some other things, so maybe that's the trade-off there. I experimented with different techniques and you know, decorative aspects, and I got to do a soda firing, which is kind of like the wood firing but kind of not, you know. The soda firing things get up to what, I know cone 10, which is very hot, but I think once it gets down to 1900, 1800 degrees or something in there, you start spraying soda ash on it, and or like baking soda rather, and it creates this atmospheric look, which I have one piece over here because I didn't really put that many pieces in there because we just built that kiln. I think I talked a little bit about it last fall. We just built it last fall, and so it was finally ready to use this fall. So yeah, it was a long process, a lot of bricklaying, a lot of brick cutting and stuff, you know, hooking up gas and whatnot, which I didn't do because I'm not that handy. But it was a lot of involved work or whatever putting it together, and it was really nice to be able to like come together with some of the local potters, and because I didn't realize there were that many potters in St. Louis, to be honest. But nonetheless, we all worked together on it, got it going, and then we all kind of got pieces in there, so that was really great this year. I have even less now because naturally my grandmother looks through the boxes. Even though, you know, that's the one time I can count on her to be super duper nosy and like look through things, is when I bring my artwork home. And I feel very blessed that I've had a family to be super invested in what I do. if nothing else, just by sheer enthusiasm, you know? So, anyway, she has claimed a few pieces for herself. There's at least 3 up there that I'm not allowed to touch, because Grandma says so. And then over the years, like, I've had teapots. No, can't get rid of them. Can't put them on my website. They're in the china cabinet now, and once things go in the china cabinet, they don't come out. And likewise, I had a tea set that I made. She kept that. There's other things she's kept, but anyway, that's beside the point. I don't mind giving things to my grandmother, but nonetheless, I have a few things out of the batch that I brought home, and I'm going to show them to you today. I just realized I had an extra bag, but anyway, some of these are I'm really excited about, and then some of these I'm just like, this is really experimental. But first and foremost, I want to remind y'all that I will be putting my heart bowls out. Now, these I actually made last spring, and they're wood fired. Yeah, this is wood fired. So these will be up probably sometime, maybe in January. I might wait till February on these, but nonetheless, there are about 5 of them. They're all different, so keep that in mind, but they'll be out there. I didn't want to release them in the summer for some reason. I guess because they're heart-shaped. But I really enjoyed making these. It was something simple, you know, relatively simple, and I could kind of practice with that. Now, there are some things that I think I will do in the future as far as my dishes and trays go, but that's going to be more on the experimental artisan side of things. But these are great trinket dishes. Use it as a small fruit bowl, a yarn bowl if you wish. That's what one of those has been used for the last few months. So anyway, those are coming soon. I have a couple of red ones. They're also wood fired, because I noticed how the red is starting to turn gray from the wood firing, but that's chemistry at work there. I'm trying to figure out what I want to show off first. I guess I'll show off what I made at home first. So about a couple years ago, I went ahead and I bought a really cheap pottery wheel to have down here so that I can kind of make stuff at home and work on my craft at home and at school. So I'm nothing if not dedicated. So there's some stuff here that I made here at home. This one is one of them. I made a few mugs, and my big deal with mugs is always that I hate making handles. So to be honest, I never wanted to be a mug lady, partially because I felt like I wasn't good at making handles, but I improved significantly, I think, in the past few months in making mugs, both the shape and the handles. And so this one got dipped in a nice, it wasn't actually a celadon, but it looks like a celadon, right? And it's this nice pretty minty color, and I'm not in the proper lighting for this to really come off great. So I will be putting out pictures and things in the coming months, so make sure you keep an eye out both on the community tab, or if you're on Instagram, keep an eye out on Instagram. Eventually these will be shop listings, but yeah, they'll look a lot better instead of this warm light. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. The bottom is nice, and I always sign and put the year on the bottom of my pieces, so you'll know when these were actually made, if it matters to you. But this is one of the pieces that I made here at home in the art studio. And this is a yarn bowl that I made here. So I played with a different shape of guide. Now some of these, this is one of them, I'm going to do a little bit of hand painting on, because when they came out of the kiln, this black, I didn't spray it on this time, so it didn't turn blue, okay? But this is very Frankenstein to me, you know? So there's some hand painting that I'm going to do on some of these pieces. Not all of them are dipped like this, but these are a little extra special. But more specifically, I did different types of guides for the yarn this time, because those swirls are annoying. They're doable. I can do them, but they are kind of annoying. And I like the simplicity of just doing the little T shape down here. It kind of looks like the bottom part of an eye, which is fitting for Infiniti. Yes, that's my real name. If you're new here, that is my actual name. I get asked that more often than you guys probably realize, especially if I need to get into a lift or something. They're like, Infiniti, is that a name? Like, no, it's not a name at all. You know, but anyway, dry humor for the win. So those are a couple of the pieces I made here at home, and I'm really proud of, and I really enjoy the size of this. So I'm really, right now, looking at how well I know my materials, and I'm getting to know my different clays very well, because every clay has a different type of shrinkage on it. So this was probably this big before it got fired, right, or something like that. But then it went through the first firing and it shrunk a little bit, and that's necessary to get the moisture out. And then it shrunk again. Really, it shrunk 3 times. So when when you throw it, it's wet, it's the full size, and then it dries, it shrinks a little bit because the moisture is bleeding out of it, and the molecules are kind of compacting together, right? And then you fire it first time in a bisque, and it shrinks again. Definitely getting out all that moisture and solidifying everything. Not really glass fusion, but you know, it's solidifying things so you can hold it without it breaking apart. Then by the time it gets into the kiln for the second time, the third phase of drying with the glaze on it, it shrinks even more to its final form. And so I was happy that with this clay, I got this size of a mug. Hold it next to my face. I got this size of a mug, and it stayed this size. So I know about what amount of clay that I want to use going forward making my mugs. And I'm thinking beyond graduation, we do have a pottery store, local pottery store, and they do firings. And so I'm thinking that perhaps if the demand is there, occasionally I will go, like I'll make stuff up and I'll go occasionally and get stuff fired because it's kind of pricey. But that's what happens when you don't have your own kiln. So go get stuff fired and kind of experiment. I also got to experiment with glazes. So a lot of the stuff that I put out in the past, it's very neutral tone, and that's mostly because that's what's available in studio. And I mean, where I could be making glazes, I could, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's just not what you want to do. And so I just haven't gotten around to it too, because of, again, workload and things like that. Some of the more vibrant colors I just don't have access to at the moment either. I'd have to make them myself, or I'd have to go buy them. And then depending on the clay you use, some clays can't withstand higher temperatures, and so you have to have a medium to low fire glaze. So anyway, all that to say is I bought some low fire glazes for my for my clay that I use here at home. But I don't know if I want to show that one yet. I should, since I'm talking about it. But you know, it works out really good because you get some really consistent coloration. That part was still wrapped up. You get some really consistent coloration in it, and I can appreciate that, because if you've noticed anything over the years, and over the last year or so since I've been putting out my pottery, you can get some very varied results from even the Cone 10, which I've been having a horrible time with firing here recently. Here, I want to find where it lines up. I think this is it. No, it's not. Bear with me, because X marks the spot. There we go. Alright. So some of y'all might remember that one particular short, if you've been around for a while, that I made. And I was showing off my little pumpkin. Well, this is what it turned out to be. And I love it. It has flecks of yellow in there, and it has all these brown speckles throughout the orange. And when I saw this particular glaze, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta come back here, get this glaze, and use it for that pumpkin. So this is what I did. And I already had this low fire green. I bought it probably a year ago and just never used it. Here we are. So this is a yarn bowl, right? And I'm pretty sure my professor rolled his eyes, but he'll live. This is a yarn bowl. Now, it doesn't have the big guide in it. It just has the 2 holes in it. I didn't really want to mess up the form of this one, but it's a little shallow bowl. How cute is that? And it's exciting for me. So anyway, I'm going to end up putting this on the website. I do have 2 little X's here on this small slice of this pumpkin so that you can line up the top properly and close it. But it could also be a very decorative jar. Obviously you can't put liquids and stuff in it because there's 2 holes on the side of it, but I thought that that would be a fun little thing to do this fall, and so I got 2 of them made. The other one's a little bit bigger, it's a little more oblong, and I haven't dug it out yet. Don't know which box it's in, but it's here somewhere. I got another piece like this, and trying to figure out how to word that, but essentially had to fight my grandma for this piece because I had another vase that was slightly wider. None of my pieces are the same. It was slightly wider and same color. She saw it. She's like, "It's mine. You can't have it. Sucks to be you." And so now it's upstairs with a poinsettia in it. What am I going to do with her? Anyway, then I have this one. I mostly make my things for the craft room. However, some of my things are more versatile. So obviously like the mugs, the vases, you can really use them for whatever you want. But they will always be labeled like crochet vase or something, or knitting needle vase on my website, because that's my area of specialty, I like to say, is craft room pottery. I have this mug, and it's cute and bulbous. It's tiny, like a teacup, almost like a little tea mug. Now, I feel like I purposely made this one small for some reason, but I think it has charm nonetheless. It's very woodsy. It reminds me of like the Hobbit from Lord of the Rings kind of aesthetic. So I like this a lot. Like I said, I got a lot better with mugs this go round, and I kind of forced myself to sit up and make a bunch of them. So I have different ones of varying shapes, sizes, and colors. Again, somewhere, just not here. There was a bowl that I made, and I think I was trying to make the foot for one of my vases, and it was too big. And so my motto with some things this past semester was, if it goes wrong, make it into a yarn bowl. And that was my little inside joke with my buddy that sits across from me. And so I made a yarn bowl, and I'm shocked because I did the tiny holes, and I said last time that I will never do tiny holes again, because that big batch of yarn bowls that went into the wood firing last year, I had to get a diamond bit and drill through all of those small holes so that they would be functional for you all. And that took hours. It took strength, patience, and Jesus Christ to get through all of that. And I didn't want to do it again. So I'm really surprised at myself that I did that. But I did, and it worked out. I don't have to grind this. Praise the Lord. So there's 2 sets of guides, small holes, medium holes, and then my guide here is, again, the little T-shape. Again, this is a lot easier for me to do. And I really like this bowl for its consistency down, because it's almost the same, basically the same thickness. And when it comes to bowls, when you make them, you kind of just want to, your fingers should stay like the same amount of space apart going down. And mine did this one time. And I think this is soda fired? Don't know. Feel like it is. Looks burnt. I think it is, because this is Ohio white, and it's kind of crunchy. So, or is it gas fired? Because now it looks like it was on a kiln. I really don't know at this point. I'll have to look at it. Like I said, some things are soda fired, and I know I can look at the bottom of those pieces because there's wadding that was under them, and so the spots where the wadding was, it's a lot lighter than the rest of the piece. So anyway, I have a teacup yarn bowl that, again, fits those Hobbit themes. It really, really, really matches this. I feel like it's the same glaze. So these 2, not together, will be up on the website eventually. I've been saying that I probably won't even do a shop update until February. I'm doing a lot, and I'm only one girly girl, and I don't have a problem with that, but I really just want to kind of space things out and make sure that I'm doing things meticulously so that they are presented in a way that I would be happy with. So teacup yarn bowl is here, and I might do, I don't want to say I will, but I might do a couple more of those, because I thought that that was a fun idea, because it kind of made me think of like, hey, Mad Hatter type thing. And people say we're crazy anyway for the fiber arts, so You know, it just kind of fits. Next, I love eclectic things and colors because they are, for some reason, nostalgic for me, I guess. They also speak to my old soul, right? So this coloration that came off of this, it's stunning to me, right? And it reminds me a lot of my socks. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you hold these side by side, this is the same picture, guys. So, um, you know, I feel very conflicted about giving this one away, but this is not my only piece with this color on it, so I think I will live. Plus, there are plenty pieces that, like, have, probably, I'm sure, have defects on them. I don't know. Let me not exaggerate. There are probably 4 pieces out of my batch that have defects on them that I'm a little perturbed about, that I will likely be keeping or gifting to someone. So, yeah, but this is not one of those, so I'm happy about that. This goes on the website. I love the coloration on it. I don't quite remember what I did, but I did write it down, so that's been great. I did talk about, at some point during one of the channel chats, that I had a batch of pieces to go in that looked like Arabella, the piece that I called Arabella. I'll try to pop that picture up here. It was never going to come out quite the same because it wasn't the same type of firing. However, there was something wrong with one of the glazes that I use, and it ran like crazy, and about 7 out of those 8 pieces were stuck onto the shelf, and I came back to the studio and they'd been promptly chiseled off, and I was so annoyed. So anyway, only one of those things survived, and I do have it. I just didn't bring it over. I feel like you have to leave a little bit of mystery to these things, a little bit of anticipation. So if you want to be notified, I usually kind of notify people via the blog post, because on my website, because I think they reach people more. I think people open those emails a little bit quicker than the newsletter ones. I'm not sure. It's like close, right? But it's an easy way to kind of mass notify people for me. So if you want to be notified when I'm going to do that shop update, then head over to my website, sign up for the newsletter. I don't send out notifications too often. I don't even post blogs that often anymore. So you don't really get that many notifications from me, so they should be special when they pop up. Just make sure to check your junk mail, your inbox. There's a welcome email that pops up when you sign up, so you'll know that you're on the list. But yeah, probably won't do that until February. So, trying to think. I had a train of thought before my camera battery went out on me. I guess I've been talking for a while, so I don't really blame it. I really liked, apparently, this hobbity type color, I guess. I don't know. I just did a batch and ran with it, really. But I was so upset when I saw this one because there's a fissure on the bottom of it, and it doesn't translate to the inside, so it can still hold liquids if I wanted to use it as a flower vase, but with an imperfection like that, I just wouldn't want to put it on my website. So this is something I'm going to keep probably in here on this table for my knitting needles and such. But there is a piece that I did for a final project. I actually did a set of 3. The other one is still on campus because I want to grind the bottom of it with the bench grinder. So it got a little stuck, so I gotta finish that off. But these 2 didn't, so yeehaw. I got really intrigued by double-walled vessels at the last minute, and I decided to make that my final thing, right? So I have this, and it reminds me of a lemon almost in the middle, but it has these holes here which didn't get sealed up, which I was very happy about, and they can hold things. Maybe not that one. Smaller hooks. But these 2 on this side can hold hooks. These on this side, I wouldn't recommend putting darning needles in it necessarily because, well, they're short and this thing is open all the way around, so get lost in there maybe. I don't know. I'd have to find one that would fit and figure that out for you, but I don't have one handy. Oh, the one time I don't have a darning needle. Anyway, and then stuff can go down in the center of this, and I really liked the color scheme that I use for this, because typically in the past I did not use the Ohio State white that we had. I disliked it with a passion, but now it's kind of growing on me. But this one, it's a little different. This is also a double-walled piece, and it is loosely inspired by a piece that only the original people on this channel will recognize. This is full of holes as well. There's a little side hole here for sticking something in. But there's 3 down here because I don't know about y'all, but I have fancy crochet hooks, right? And many years ago, probably about the full 8 years ago, I made some stuff at home, and I made myself a crochet hook bowl, right? And it was really clunky, it was really chunky, it was really heavy, it was objectively bad, and I still have it. It is something of a trophy piece of the past for me, so I still have it. I don't use it anymore, but it exists. But back in 21, I made bowls. I remade it, basically, in this style. And this is what sits on my table that was not in there good, and holds all of my hooks or whatever. And I have these things with these holes in it that hold my special hooks there, and I have about 10 holes there, because at the time I was not, well, at the time that's all I had really was 10. So we put that back over there, and it's heavy because I have a lot of hooks. So this kind of pays homage to that, but I like this a lot better in a way, even though this is kind of a prototype, because it is double walled, so it's all made in one piece. So it's not as risky as like slab cutting and piecing together, in my opinion. Now, some people don't like doing double walls because they're supposed to be difficult, but it really wasn't that bad to me. So, you know, some people pick up on things easier than others, but this was my idea. And so you could put like scissors down in here, you can put your other hooks down in here, whatever. And then if you have like just a few special hooks, you could put them at the forefront or whatever. Or maybe your favorite special hooks, if all you have is special hooks, your favorite 3 can go on the front. And then this little hole on the side, your little snips could go into. So let me see. Oh, there's a darning needle, wouldn't you know? Yeah, your little snips can go on the side of it. And I like making stuff like this. This is what I like to make. And so, you know, maybe I'll be playing around with that more. I really don't know what I expect for my last semester to do for me. As far as things I want to make, as far as, you know, how I want to continue to hone my style in ceramics, I really don't know. So I'm just going to leave it to the wind at this point and go with the flow of it. What turns out good, I will keep, and what doesn't turn out good, I will use it as a learning experience, because such is my nature. But yeah, okay, darning needle, and I'm going to risk my darning needle. Oh, and it fits perfectly in there. That's exciting for me. Wait. I'm sorry, I'm a big child. I hadn't tested out that theory. It was just like a concept in my head. But okay, 2 darning needles, they fit perfectly in there, and they stand straight up, so you don't have to worry about it wiggling around and falling down in there. Love that for me. If you have knitting needles, I guess, you know. This is kind of an awkward thing. I'm such a child. But anyway, this fits like this, you know? To me, it's just like that little light bulb moment, the little aha, right? To realize that these things, the mechanics of these things work. But anyway, so that was my thinking behind the little lemon. And so I'm going to contemplate these for a minute because I really like them. But I feel like somebody else would also really like them. And so they might end up on my website relatively soon. Okay, I have a few other pieces. So I have these. Now this is another glaze that I bought, and can't really see it. I'll take pictures of this at a later date so you can see the inside. I'm going to do some hand painting on this because while the inside of this is okay, right, in my opinion, the outside of it, it does have the crystal blooms that I wanted, but it's not as opaque as I'd hoped it to be. And so I'm thinking about doing some kind of themed hand painting on this. Now my grandmother has other opinions. She really loved this. There was another vase that looked like that, and she took it because she thought it was perfect as it was. Again, she is very enthusiastic about my artwork, and that brings me joy too, because not every artist has like a supportive family that is engaged with what they do. So I realize that I'm very blessed in that sense, that I have somebody that's like, oh my gosh, you do this thing, that's great. I kind of come from a family of creative people, but you know, I think I'm the first one that's kind of using it to go the business route. So it's fun. There was something else there, but I lost it. Okay, human moment. Anyway, this is the one piece that came out of the soda firing here. So I was experimenting with making those bigger pieces. So remember I said clay shrinks, right? This was about this big. No, it's not. It's still a pretty sizable piece, and again, I'm glad I keep knitting needles over here. This is about the depth of it. So, yeah, but this came out of the soda firing. I'm not disappointed with it. All I did to it was put a slip up here at the top. There's no flashing slip on it or anything. The rest of this is just the ash and stuff that hit the vase. So it just makes the clay look, not burnt, but that's the word I'm going to use, burnt. And it gives it this nice, like, homey maroon color. You can kind of see the original color of the clay at the very base of it. But again, if you're surrounded by a bunch of smoke and whatever's in the smoke, it's going to do things to the piece. So anyway, this piece you cannot put water in. Because I did not glaze the inside. It is purely decorative. So, you know, if you wanted to put your things, I don't know, your needles in it, if you wanted to use it for utensils. I did texture the bottom with these little scratches. I have this little wiggle wire, and I used it to just down the side of it at the bottom, and that was that. Let's see. This last piece, this was a cone 10 piece. This last piece reminds me of a candy apple, and my grandma keeps correcting me and saying a caramel apple, and I'm like, yeah, well, I forget the red candy apples exist, to be honest, because the caramel apple with the peanuts on it, those are superior. I haven't eaten one in over a year, but you know, that aside, this is one of my bigger pieces. Now this one, again, it was bigger, but this one still remains pretty big. It's almost like a small baby. So, again, oh my god, that rich red isn't, I didn't notice it was that rich on the inside. Anyway, the foot on this one's pretty deep, but the actual base part is also obviously quite deep. I really like organic shapes, if you haven't been able to tell, so I like to play a lot with rounding off my pieces like this. This is also, again, knitting needle vase, but if you want to use it for something else, you can. This will definitely be on the website. I have no use for this in my studio or in my other spaces. I have so much pottery sitting everywhere. But anyway, yeah, so those are just a few of my pieces that I have rediscovered. And so as I go through these bags and totes and boxes, I will eventually start rolling stuff out. I won't be really rolling stuff out all at one time, obviously. You know, I like to kind of space out when I release things. So anyway, that's just one of my weird little business tics. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. That is everything that I made in 2023 that I can remember, and so help me, I'm going to be upset with myself if I remember something else that I made and I didn't show it off. But anyway, that's everything that I can think of currently that I made in 2023. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I am very blessed to be able to serve all of you. There have been about 900 new people to become a part of my community on this channel this month on YouTube. And then there, of course, is my Rumble audience that is also going to be watching this video. So I want to thank you all for being here in my community and watching my videos and continuing to support in that way. And I want to say thank you to those who are subscribed to my program, my monthly program, because that helps me to continue to be able to put out these videos and projects and things that you all enjoy. So my big ask heading into 2024 is, of course, that perhaps give it a chance. Like I said, it's $6 a month, and in it you get access to all of my patterns. You get access to their accompanying videos, all of my maker notes. You get members forum access, which is basically like your Q&A help / mingle area. You also get exclusive member discounts on occasion, because I will put those out there for them. Right now, the main one I have going is for the Hey Craftpreneur merch, but more to come in the future, perhaps. And then you get access to the courses that I'll be putting out. They, like I said, they are a lot of fun for me to build. I like that kind of thing, so likely I'll be coming up with more courses to put out in the future. And it is always my hope that people will want to learn from me. All of that is available under Hey Craftpreneur for $6 a month, or if you want to do the subscription thing, you could subscribe for $19.99 quarterly, or if you just want the class itself, because you and a group of your friends want to learn how to crochet, then you can buy that one off and use it that way. But either way, again, I appreciate all of you sharing and watching my content in general, and whether or not you signed up today, I hope you have a fantastic new year, and I will see you later on in 2024 when I come back with this channel's tutorials. Alright, until then, happy making.